Yes, okay,
Correct.
okay.
Um,
I
I'm gonna
forget.
leave this with you. And
Okay, perfect.
apparently Carter needs a link, so I'm gonna go send that to him.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yeah, there's a whole new agenda now.
Yeah.
But he
Okay,
More
so,
about it than I do at this point. 'Cause he's been,
Well, I guess, yeah, you should.
I mean, not that I know a lot, but just,
Yeah, but, yeah, zoning was really the big.
we get started in just a few minutes.
And housing, I guess. And then I ended up in a totally different kind of organization anyhow. Which was really public space and
yeah.
behavior in public space. But I didn't sign it, I did. I asked her for the signage.
I don't like to use
You had one before and that, but I'm Wouldn't matter. I actually think about some stuff.
All right,
Well,
thank you. All right, I'm just gonna share from this.
Stella, just
slideshows
over by you, so if
Yeah.
somebody comes in, they can grab them on that.
to be ultra.
I mostly was to organize myself.
So this is for our guests.
All right.
Because we signed.
Yes.
Yeah, that can go either on the corner there.
Yes.
They've all signed it, but just anybody new comes in, they'll need it.
Sorry.
Yeah,
All right, we're gonna get started in just a minute. Let me just, I have to sign into Zoom to share the screen.
How do we have the link?
Yeah, all good, okay.
Oh, did it not, nobody get the link?
No, we're not getting the link.
Sign up.
And we can go on the calendar and register.
All right. Everyone, we're gonna get started in just a minute, so just be patient. I'll get started in just a minute. I gotta log on.
Did you go see that? Recently?
No.
Everyone, we're gonna get started in just a minute. I'm just logging on to Zoom. Great. That's even better because I don't have my screen mounted. Good evening. It is 5:39 PM, and since we have a quorum, I will call this meeting to order. Welcome to the September meeting of Manhattan Community Board 2's Outdoor Dining Working Group. I'm Valerie De La Rosa, Chair of the Outdoor Dining Working Group. On the committee, we have Donna Raftery, Chair of CB2 SLA Committee. I think Carter Booth is on Zoom, past board chair, past SLA chair. Stella Fitzgerald, board member on land use and traffic as well. Shirley Secunda, chair of CB2 Traffic and Transportation Committee. And Brian Pape, who is a board member on our landmarks and street activities, and also is our assistant secretary.
And also
And also on SLA. So just the knowledge bank of this group is, it's really the A team of the board. I'm just here to facilitate this. I'm Valerie De La Rosa, and I chair the Outdoor Dining Working Group. So we have our agenda for the meeting, and I apologize, I'm on two computers, so it's like kind of like working with two brains here. So welcome and introductions, adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So
Brian Pape, and second from Shirley Secunda. The next is the approval of the August minutes, which everyone has received already from prior. Do I have a motion to approve the August minutes? Okay, we have that from Donna, and second from Shirley. All right, so before we get started, it's been brought to my attention that there is a flyer that was posted on an establishment in the West Village at Hudson and Perry, and that this flyer was directing people to this meeting this evening. If that is you, welcome, hello. Please make sure you sign up for the CB2 email list so you can be in regular contact with us on what applications are coming before us regarding outdoor dining. From what I understand from this flyer, that there's concern about this establishment applying for a liquor license. So this establishment, I don't have the name of it, is actually not on the agenda this evening, so we will not be discussing it, nor are we going to hear public comment on it because we've simply not received a Dining Out NYC application referred to us from DOT for this location. So I welcome everyone that is here about that. You certainly can submit a written concern to the board on that in general, that can go to our SLA committee as well as our outdoor dining committee. But for this meeting this evening, we will not be discussing that. So that's that. We have 3 applications this evening. One on the Spring Lounge, DBA The Spring Lounge, 48 Spring Street. Then we have, and that is for Sidewalk Cafe. Les Botanistes has withdrawn their Sidewalk Cafe application. And then we have 2 Roadway applications, one for Les Botanistes at 127 Grand and one for Tropez, DBA Tropez Wine Bar at 302 West 4th Street. Next after that, and so the way that this is going to work is we are going to call up each application. The committee is going to discuss each application individually. And then we will have a discussion on the application, and then we will call on members of the public, first in the room and then on Zoom, to testify for 2 minutes on that specific application. After all of the public testimony, we will ask the applicant if they are here, either in the room or on Zoom. We will ask them questions, and they are allowed to respond if they so like to the public comments that they've heard from the public or from what the committee has talked about. And then after that, we'll move on to the next application. Your testimony should be centered on the specific application that the committee is discussing at the time. There will be absolutely no back and forth between speakers or between speakers and the applicant. After we go through each application, then the committee will convene into a business session, which is closed from any further public comment or questions. Everyone is welcome to stay. And you can also continue to submit testimony by filling out the CB2 outdoor dining feedback form, which I'll put a link to that in the chat. And that's that. So let's start with our first application. For the Spring Lounge, and let me see if we have For,
You want to make any of us cookies?
yes, sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Because all- I have them made.
Yeah, so if you are an applicant for the Spring Lounge, no, it's Jen and Ryan, and I don't know. Oh, okay, hi. Hello. All right, so, yes? So if you guys want to come up and sit, and that way we can have the microphone and people online can hear you as well. You guys sign in?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Sure, of course. So I know I had sent through a list of kind of preliminary questions, so let's just go to the plan. So, I mean, I can go through the list that I had come up with. We could talk through those. So we had first talked about let me just bring this up on my screen. Okay, so let's see, Heather, last written. Okay, so let's divide this up into streets. So we'll start with Spring Street. So we had measured, I think I'd sent through the measurement that it was, or you've got it as 11 feet, 5 inches. That would be.
Yeah. 11 and a half.
Right, 11 and a half.
Yeah.
11 and a half or 11 feet, 5
No,
inches?
it says 11.5 feet. Sorry.
11.5,
I did
okay.
it all in Word, Microsoft
Okay,
Word, and
okay.
it's not very.
Got it. So, so we were concerned about, as I had mentioned about the seating, the 12-inch stool, the 12-inch table, and the 0.5 service aisle. So I guess, do you want to talk about
For the spring.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Stella.
Hi, Stella.
I went by on Monday. I measured that Spring Street sidewalk's actually 12 feet. Which
Oh,
would
okay.
give you a little bit more room.
Great.
But we're not sure that it would be enough space to have a service aisle.
Right.
Is that where you're?
So our intention was not to have actual servers, but to have people to have people just walk outside of the bar entrance directly to their table with almost like counter service. Like they come inside, they get their stuff, they carry it outside to their table. We have usually a floor manager who is stationed at the door, like sort of, making sure people are going to a table and seating people and making sure they're walking inside and they're not wandering off and stuff like that. So there wouldn't be an actual server where there's a service aisle. No one's like taking orders
But
at the
they
tables.
have to walk in the service aisle, though. They can't walk up the sidewalk is the concern.
Right.
So they wouldn't be able to walk between the divider, tables and chairs. The service aisle is a walkway, not necessarily just for servers, it's also for the customer.
Right. I guess in my head, if you had two people who are sitting face to face out on like 12-inch stools, then they would be just walking like to their table. There was my.
It needs to be delineated as well. So
Which you have with the
Right.
stanchions.
We have stanchions.
Stanchions,
with ropes, yeah.
Right, so you guys aren't adding any, so some people are adding in barriers that are just so wide that they're encroaching into their footprint, but you guys have chosen something that's, I've seen it.
Yeah, they're like the big
Yeah.
stanchions.
And so then the other thing is, so the light post is
Mhm.
actually not diagonal from, it's actually right parallel. I don't know if I have a photo in here or not. Yeah, that was not the best one because we're not really doing diagonal. So this does go parallel. I don't have the photo, but this does go parallel to the cafe. I might have another photo, but
your photo 5 sort of shows it,
yeah. So, okay, so I have that.
and photo 1 sort of shows it.
Okay.
There.
So this does go parallel to so that does require not 8 feet, but 10 feet for the clearance, which I know is very frustrating. But so the way that we've looked at this is you could possibly have the seating here. It does not work with the 10 feet here with this parallel, because we have gotten clarification when we had another application on obstructions and the clearance. The clear path requirement of the sidewalk supersedes the obstruction clearance when it's parallel. If it was not parallel to the sidewalk cafe, then it would be a diagonal.
Right, so I understand that, and I guess my question is, so in our drawing, we did not put any tables opposite of the light post for that reason, but when we measured, and I don't know if Heather sent you these recent photos that I sent her the other day.
Yeah.
I took photos where we measured.
So bad at this. All right, I'm like, this is like a PC and I'm a Mac person
Yeah.
and I can't go, I don't know how to go back.
You just exit full screen.
Yeah. Cause I don't have a
understand
keyboard.
that.
I don't know how to exit, but these are my choices. Can someone just bring me the keyboard maybe?
I don't know if this keyboard goes with.
I don't know.
Does this keyboard go with that?
Yes.
Right there.
Thank you. Am I going to a photo? What am I going to, Donna? The site plan, thanks.
When I measured diagonally out from the furthest most left corner of the light post, 8 feet, which is why I drew that sort of like radius, it allows us to have within that 1.5 foot space, that one table right to the, next to the entrance, but there would not be any further tables over where it's opposite of the light post in order to allow for that clearance.
Okay,
I think that the issue was that it requires a 10-foot.
I was
Yeah,
just
it's
gonna
10
say,
feet.
so it's 10 feet from.
Yeah,
But it's 10, so it has to be 10 feet from the, 10 feet, a 10-foot radius from the light post?
It's not a radius, it's directly in
the directly across because it's parallel. If it wasn't,
Because one table right here would,
Right, it clears, I can send you photos. I took a photo of how the table would be set up.
I see it now, because initially I thought that was your building line. I was like, this is way out of scale, but now I see that you've got less tables than what you have out now, so I understand
Right.
what you're communicating there.
I have a question, and this is for you, Valerie, or for anybody on the committee. Just to clarify, if it's parallel, it's 10 feet, but then that radius should be 8 or 10?
It's 10, it's just the clearance of the 10 feet.
But if it's diagonal, is it 8 or 10?
But it's not diagonal.
if there is no diagonal,
Okay. So the distance between the edge of the cafe and the light post, what should that be? Should it be 10 or 8 there? Within that site?
it measures.
I know. I mean, that's why,
Well, sorry.
no.
My
It's-
clarification from the DOT examiner that we were initially talking with, because initially I had accidentally put the light post too close to the corner. And she was like, no, it's too far over, you need to move it, like take your measurement from where it is from the corner. And then she was the one who told me if you have to have an 8-foot radius from where the light post was. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't need that 10-foot direct opposite clearance, but for like, if you're going diagonally out from all sides of the light post, you need the 8 feet.
Yeah, this is the situation that we got a little lesson from on West 10th Street,
Mhm.
where we thought that if you had to have that clear pathway, it had to make the turns with a full 10
As though you
foot.
were holding a stick of that width and you could move.
That's right. But it was clarified to us at that point that you could actually make the turn without considering the diagonal across the path, which was, not logical to me, but that's what we learned from that example.
From Partners Coffee or from Ruby's?
No.
Either one.
Oh, West 10.
West 10.
West 10.
So anyway,
West.
if we apply that the perpendicular dimension from the curb to the building and measuring to the seats, that's always in that perpendicular line. It doesn't take into account the diagonal measurements. Except that you got that guidance 8-foot radius
Mhm.
from that light post. So, we're kind of learning.
Sort of to what
Right, because you have it in writing.
we were told before. And I would think it should be 10 feet then instead of 8 feet, quite frankly, because that's the other thing they said. I don't know. It just makes.
But irrespective,
way.
I think the main issue here is that the service aisle is 6 inches wide,
Right.
and that's not realistic.
We're back
I
to
mean,
that.
that's the main issue here. I don't think that's realistic.
What if it's a foot? I mean, I measured it,
I mean-
it's 12 feet.
Well, we go by your measurements. That's what you provided to us. That's what's there. I mean, 6 inches, with the barrier, it's not pushing in or out. I mean, we didn't make the rules. These are the rules that the city provided.
Sure.
And they're not gonna work everywhere, but this just doesn't seem realistic. It's a 1.5 foot space. For example, under the old program, you would have been required to have a 4-foot space to have any seating because the service aisle was 3 feet was the required. But it just seems to me that that's really,
So I'll just show,
and the service aisle is not for, you can't just take a drink and walk outside,
yeah, so this is,
on the sidewalk.
right.
It's the
so
issue.
this is what the guide, this is from a presentation about asking about the clear path requirement and the service. And I understand that's not service happening from your establishment, but it just can't impede on that pedestrian traffic. And it's frustrating for the classification of that street of needing the 10-foot clear path because it's a very small sidewalk. So it's trying to fit all of these, things into your location, and
Can I
It's really
ask
frustrating.
what goes into the designation of these wider? Why do they make them wider? Like, what is it based on?
the corridors or the,
Corridors, exactly.
so it's
Why
based.
that street and not?
So we had a presentation from DOT on the pedestrian mobility plan, which is something completely separate from the outdoor dining program and has its own required clear path in the DOT rules. And so it's like this is the first iteration of it that they've done. And if anybody else wants to add from that
But it
presentation.
is based on the volume of pedestrian traffic, based on
Retail,
the type of street, the
yeah.
type of, occupants or uses of the buildings. It's not so wide for a residential street. It's wider for a commercial street where you have a lot of restaurants.
If you Google it, you can find it.
New York
There's a
City
whole-
pedestrian
yeah.
mobility.
And it has the different data points that they pull.
And actually,
Retail
on
data,
their,
office,
on
yeah.
their plan, the corridors, number of the corridors are actually wider than what DOT is using. It's a fascinating, I think it's worth looking at. It's an interesting plan to just see how they thought it through and what they're looking at doing, and then DOT modified it.
And it makes it hard to fit so we're trying to understand how this could work here. And that's what we're asking the questions, because we're trying to apply this unilaterally to everyone. So are there additional comments on this one or questions from the committee?
We want to talk about the mulberry.
We can talk about, is there anything else on Spring Street before we continue? It's the service aisle that it seems hard.
Yeah, I wonder if we could just go back to the plan and maybe you could just go up to the side and point to the path that, they're talking about from the serving yourself to going to the table.
Sure. So
If you could go.
you want me to go up here?
Yeah, you
Okay, sure.
just would be helpful.
Vanna White.
I can try to point my cursor.
Yeah, and so Valerie, to the point that you made in the email, the tables are not actually bigger than the stools. Our stools are a little smaller than 12 inches.
Yeah.
And we would be having custom 12-inch tables made. We haven't had them made yet because
Totally get
we're
it. Yep.
we're not investing the money
Yes.
in that yet. So
Yes.
the tables that we are currently using are bigger than that. And
Right.
So they're 12-inch tables.
so these are 12-inch tables, so they would actually be more in the same
This.
size as the circles. I did this myself in Microsoft Word, which is very complicated.
But
to
either
do
way,
with space.
Wow.
So it's very little, and as I said, our intention was if you have a 12-foot stool with a 12-inch table with a 12-foot stool, that someone could literally walk out of the establishment with their stuff and just go and have a seat, you know, and it's very small, it is small, but that's
This is 13
also.
inches.
I do.
And I'm 19.
I know it's
I'm 19.
trying to make
I
it
measured
work.
last night just today. I did.
So the pedestrian mobility plan, just so you guys know, for a regional corridor, their recommendation is actually a 12-foot width.
Right.
Not 10 feet. So the city's actually reduced it to a 10 feet requirement. Again, this is the whole plan that they had organized, so.
Okay.
Ever since you took on.
I mean, it's,
So it's almost like you grab your feet and then you turn around.
And you have a seat, yeah.
I have another thought about that. So if there's somebody, if there is a group already sitting at the table closest to the entrance, the next group would have to walk around them.
Right.
So it can't be as tight as it maybe is in theory.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's tight. We would have to space out the tables enough and the seats enough from each other so that people can comfortably sit in a sideways
Like these
way
two. Yeah.
to be able to then walk by. I mean, I will fully admit that, you know, in my head, while it seems tight, at the same time, I've had plenty of dinners at Prune, which was the tiniest restaurant on the planet in New York City, where you're literally, your table is right here. And if someone next to you got up to go to the bathroom, they got up and they walked within the 6-inch space from table to table to get up and go to the bathroom. Like I feel like there is a level of New Yorkers are pretty, you know, if you see someone coming, kind of scoot yourself over a little bit more.
Well, I guess it's more to do with if it's complying with the requirements of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Then ADA accessibility too.
Okay, I think we've talked enough about the Spring Street side. Is there anything else on the Spring Street side? Just the service aisle, and that, okay. Okay, let's go to Mulberry.
Mulberry Street, I measured as approximately 11 feet and 2 inches.
Oh, okay.
So slightly smaller. Again, the same service aisle
Yeah.
issue. And because that sidewalk's even shorter, the service aisle will be shorter.
Right.
So I'm not sure that it can work there. What does
Well,
everyone think?
That's-
Fair.
I'd like to make a point of clarification and also kind of one of those query things that just, some things don't make a whole lot of sense. When we're talking about these measurements, the measurements that have been quoted from the building to the curb is actually to the face of the curb. The curb has a 5 to 7 inch width, and I'm just for my own clarification, I think I'm going to want to go back to DOT and say, is this really to the face of the curb or to the back of the curb? My training tells me that the measurement is to the back of the curb. The curb is part of the street and not the sidewalk. I'm not arguing that point now. I'm just saying that
You might
for
want to give
our
your background.
future-
You might want to give your background for those who might not know.
Oh, well, I'm an architect. So, I mean, that's what kind of training or learning the language of measuring different objects in the built environment. The other thing I noticed was that the stoop comes out 52 inches into the sidewalk. So obviously the given conditions, right, and not to mention the hatch isn't quite as big. That's
The
more like,
stooping, the neighboring building.
this is,
No,
no, this is,
the entrance
Oh,
to
oh.
209,
yeah.
the stoop comes out.
Oh,
The trash,
as far as-
you know, that's another thing, that's the
yeah,
building.
yeah.
As far as the path is concerned, it's already restricted. And then there's a tree pit over on that side of Mulberry that takes up another
That one.
42
Oh,
inches.
It's like over here.
Yeah, it's further.
Yeah, I ran out of room on the paper, sorry.
That's okay. That was like one of the questions I had also asked too.
Yeah, so
Because it was like, even though I know that the trash, which I assumed was because it's under the other awning that's separate,
No, it is actually outside of, it's on our facade, but it's not our trash, it's the building's
Oh,
residential trash
okay.
that they've had there for
okay.
however long. And
Starting in a
that's
month,
all
they're gonna be
fine.
required to have bins.
Right.
So
What,
The building.
the restaurant?
November 7th.
You know, the restaurant, we already have.
We're gonna do
bins.
that bins,
Yeah,
yeah.
but we keep
Oh, but
downstairs.
they are gonna have to have bins,
Yeah.
right? Got
So
it.
I guess one
But
other.
it's still your frontage though,
It's our
right?
frontage, yeah, but the trash is in front of our frontage.
Contention.
I
Yeah,
assume so.
But it does come out, that, the trash, I think, comes out like 3.5 or 4 feet from the building as well.
Right,
I don't
right,
have
right.
an exact measurement.
Again, and we weren't there to adjudicate the trash and whether,
Yeah.
I also didn't know if it was, but also, so I guess it was more of just not, even though that's not yours, it still is your frontage and it wasn't on here, so
Yeah.
that was just a point I had made, and then, the distance from I think it was 5 feet more from, because that's a primary building entrance next, since that, even though it's not your trash, that is your frontage, and then there is a primary building entrance, that would have been nice to see on here.
So Spring Lounge does not extend to the south into that, it looks kind of vacant, but it's labeled as 208.
No, that's a separate business, space.
209.
Right.
We won't have quorum after 7.
Huh?
We will not have quorum for the committee.
Okay, then,
All right.
someone, is that one of you two,
We're
or,
just gonna leave.
okay,
So we don't-
okay, great, all right.
I just want to say, I think what the problem with this one is the same thing as the other side is the clear path. I mean,
Right.
regardless of all these other things, you still have the same issue, if not more so with the clear path. And I don't know if there was a doorway that goes into that, at least with the other one, you have a door that somebody could hit the chair on the right and left, maybe, the entryway there. I don't know how that, but here I don't even know how you could enter from one table here. So.
All right.
That's the issue.
Okay. And I know this is just a Sidewalk Cafe application, and this isn't part of our decision for this one, but, have you also filed a Roadway Cafe application?
No.
Okay,
We knew that we didn't qualify.
Okay.
For various reasons.
okay. Just wondering, because we sent those together, so, and then we have it. All right, I guess we will see from the public. I had put some additional things in here, about the clear path, the light pole, and just pointing out that these were 2 pedestrian ramps, and that the clear path from there that I just looked up on DOT. So with that, I think I put some public comment on here. We'd received 2 public comments on this one. I had sent those out to the committee. I'm not gonna go through them on the slide because I couldn't put the comments up for everyone that we received for the other applications, so I'm not gonna go through those. So if we have anyone who's here to speak on, do you have any other additional questions for us?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I'm gonna ask if there's any public testimony and then, okay. So if there's anyone in the room who wants to speak on this application? Okay. Is there anyone online on Zoom that wants to give public testimony on this application? Please raise your hand.
Or best then.
Okay. Wait, hold on.
I've got 3.
30 feet where, yeah,
Okay, great, thank you. Share.
Hi.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So let's go, she have her hand raised, I was going by who had their hand
Laura
raised.
is promoted.
Okay, Laura, go ahead, then we'll go to Augustine and Pete.
Right. I had just wanted to say, I live not that far and I pass by there quite often. It's a narrow sidewalk when you factor in the sheer amount of pedestrians on it. Given that, and it doesn't look as if they're making it, it doesn't look as if it's made for human consumption at this point, the way they're having everything squeezed in, hard to access. It's hard to pass by there right now. And I don't want to see that to be something continually happening. We pedestrians, the people who live in the neighborhood, deserve not having to be squeezed in and victimized by people who take advantage of that, like pickpockets. I just really think that what I'm saying is, as we walk by, when you get a bottleneck of people going by a place like this, because the sidewalk is too narrow to handle the number of pedestrians and the sidewalk cafe seating. It's not everywhere, but it certainly is along Spring Street. And in this area, there's a playground across the street. I have no real problems with the bar itself. I remember holding the public hearing for their liquor license when I chaired the committee, the SLA committee, but I just don't see room for a cafe there. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Augustine?
Yeah, hi. Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yep.
I have a question for the committee, perhaps specifically for Carter Booth, who's the keeper of all arcane knowledge. Does the SLA require that alcohol be served to diners?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Augustine?
Yep, that's it. I mean, actually, one point is like, I do not understand how you could possibly get to a table inside that barrier. Thank you.
Thanks. Next, we have Pete Davies.
Yes, thank you. A couple of points for clarification. This location did not have a sidewalk cafe pre-COVID, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and wait, that was you did have one?
I did not.
Okay, very good. The way the diagram shows, there are stanchions right at the edge of the table with no pathway even for the patrons to get to the tables. How would the applicant propose that patrons, do they climb over the stanchions? My next question is closing hours. The only thing in the paperwork shows the business closing hours at 4 a.m. What is the applicant proposing for the sidewalk cafe closing hour? Those are my questions. Thank you.
So as far as the entrance into the stanchions go, I haven't exactly figured out how on the Mulberry side, how that would work. I likely would have a space where there's an entrance for, for people to walk in and out of, but also while still having it contained on some level, because people can't, they can't come in from the street side, but they also, we need to have it contained where people are not just freely going around the street. And as far as closing time, the required closing time has always been midnight, and it's my understanding that it's still midnight. We have not ever pushed that envelope. We start shutting down our outdoor space by 11:15, wrapping up tables, dropping checks, so that not only are we, like, all the customers are gone by midnight, and we are already shutting down that space, stacking stools, closing tables, we're not interested in trying to keep anything open past, what is allowed.
Okay, if I could just follow up on that, the lack of.
We don't really want to back and forth. There's something quick that you can.
Well, I just wanted to say the lack of a plan about the patron access to the tables with the crammed situation they're proposing, which doesn't include a service aisle, is really problematic for what the real situation will be. So anyway, just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you. Done.
Thanks. All right, so seeing there's no other comment, we move on to our next application, but it sounds like, and we will talk about this in business session, but it sounds like at this time, the committee only sees this section as potentially being the place where you could have sidewalk seating. That seems to be the consensus. So if you're open to amending,
One table on each side. 'cause
like
you
one
can't
table
walk
on each
down.
side.
You can't walk down.
Yeah. So if you're open
I
to
don't even
changing
know.
the plan and updating it to us, yes.
Among the comments, there was a reference to the absence of reference to pedestrian ramps on the plan. And
I didn't see
Corner-
that.
They put in stanchions, they said they're gonna put stanchions on, so
I mean, is there a requirement?
there has to be delineated,
for
no.
Pedestrian ramps?
Oh, for
Oh,
pedestrian,
so the clear path is from I put that in there, sorry. I put in general, that the clear path is measured from the outer edge of the, pedestrian ramp, but I think the light pole precedes, yeah.
Also, it would
precedes
be
it.
more or less the same.
The only,
Yeah.
It could also be possible to space out the tables enough that people can get to their space without climbing
I
over.
think the issue is you don't have the width there for somebody to realistically fit in that space. I mean, I hate
Right, we're
to say
trying to
that,
make
but I
it
think,
work.
I know.
I know.
the other practical issue, this is unfortunate, but when we're talking this, is that the stanchion bases are about 12 feet, or 12 inches wide. I mean, whatever, they're raised, things people trip over, watch it at a line that's managed next door near me. People on the sidewalk I've watched because it's just scaffolding and people, trip over them. I mean, and when you put all that stuff in a tight area, that's becomes more of the different issues. I mean, again, we didn't come up with these.
And I
Unfortunately,
certainly understand the concern, and we know that this is a bit of a stretch, but we have, if you had asked me if we should have outdoor seating prior to the pandemic, I would have been like, no. Would have, uncontrollable, can't do it, and I've been pleasantly surprised. So I think it can work. And it actually, it helps the business moderate, it spreads people out, and it attracts different kinds of customers. So there's a lot, the positives far outweigh the negatives that I've seen on it. And it has to be policed, obviously. I 100%
You
agree.
guys do a very good job. And look, we're good neighborhood rents,
Yeah.
establishment, you've been there a long time. When you live in San Gennaro, you're the only ones that signs up, don't leave the area. I mean, that's not the issue. The issue is we're sort of dealt a set of situation.
Yeah.
And then what happens is that we have to start doing this everywhere, and it's like, it doesn't
I get
fit.
it.
And also the practical, I mean, it's not about you guys, but your customers are not gonna say, I'm gonna walk down this little skinny spot. I mean, you actually have neighborhood folks that you're, well, I know, I'm not gonna scrunch in that little 6 inches and bump. I mean, we've had similar people who've had to put in these tables under the old program. On West Third, for example, there was a business that had to attach their table to the wall to meet the 1 foot requirement because it's very difficult to have a base. But they had the 3 foot service aisle they were also required to have. This doesn't have that, so it's. And the other big question is, why does Mulberry have a 10 foot requirement? Because that actually impacts
All of those businesses. So, yeah, I don't understand it.
Mulberry Street as a whole, which is not just you guys, but obviously the whole character of that. And all the restaurants and sidewalk seating that may not be able to.
Do they
that.
have it? From what I saw on the map, no, that little stretch where all the restaurants are, I think their requirement was shrunken down to 8.
I mean, I don't know, I haven't looked,
So I wasn't aware that we had a 10-foot requirement initially. I was under the impression we had an 8-foot because that's what it was prior. And then when I went to the map, those streets, I think it's below Grand and below. Oh, really? Oh, I thought I saw a
below
different.
Canal change.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
And this is a whole other, you know, as you guys know, that's.
All right, I'm gonna lose
Okay.
quorum
Okay,
in
sorry.
40 minutes. No, no, I'm just saying in general, I'm gonna lose quorum in 40 minutes, so thank you so much.
Thank you
so much.
so much. I appreciate it.
So next we're gonna go, as I said, thank you, Les Botanistes. Sidewalk is withdrawn. Yeah, if you would like.
It does go to Canal Street, all the way down to Canal. I just checked the map.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you. And have you let DOT know that you withdrew the sidewalk?
I haven't, but I will.
Okay, well,
That was the-
okay,
Yeah, I think there's,
we'll
I
include
have
it
a
with our
contact that I've been
comments.
talking to,
Okay, are you talking to Nina or to Sarah?
Sarah.
Okay,
She's wonderful.
got it. All right, so 3 Botanicus Grand, DBA Les Botanistes. So now we're talking about the roadway. So I've got the plan up here. The questions, I didn't send you any questions on roadway, but I said that the committee definitely will have some questions here. So the 2 that jump out are the travel lane size and ADA accessibility from, I know we're judging based on your site plan, not what is currently set up. Is this going to be floor that's in there, or is it the roadway?
Actually, it's
the
like
roadway, right?
it's a roadway.
Right, okay, so
We
currently,
kind of made it because it's, for some reason, that part of the street is very even.
Right.
And so from the, like, right up to their bike lane, there is a buffer and it just like,
Correct.
we did not even do the floor.
right,
Because
So-
with the floors, actually, there are always mice issues, but this one is just
perfect.
clear.
Just wanted to confirm that. So then our
Yes.
question was, what's the plan for ADA access, not from here to the, because it's at grade, but from the sidewalk curb? Do you have some sort of ramp that people can use quickly? I understand the bike lane is here, so it can't stay
Yeah,
there.
actually, there is a
So,
bike lane.
Yes.
Like literally in the beginning, we used to even have a sign, watch out for the bikes.
Right,
We don't really have that plan, I mean, but we can come up with something like a little, yeah,
Huh?
but
I'm just saying, what would the
Yeah.
plan be to go,
Yeah.
to have a ramp into a bike lane?
well, you'd have to bring it out. I mean, that's the thing, you have to bring it out to use, and then hopefully a bike stops so that someone can cross. That's just our question, is how do you intend to bring people from the sidewalk into the roadway cafe that have a wheelchair? That's our
so
question.
maybe we should have had the sidewalk up and they can sit there.
I know,
No.
I know.
No, I mean,
So we just want to know that you have a, like, you know, do you have a temporary ramp that you can bring out when, like,
yeah, I
that's
mean,
what we're
I think this
asking.
is something that it can be very easily done. Like we can create some sort of a ramp, but again, it's like then someone needs to help because you're actually moving right into the bike lane.
We are
Maybe
aware,
you're already breaking the law if you don't have a ramp.
yeah.
You're required to have had it, and that's
Really?
part of, yep, and that's the
For
ADA.
years, this is the first time I have,
No,
no one
that's
ever
been a
brought-
standing
Yeah.
requirement. That's why a portable ramp, you should have your staff trained in it.
because
How to
we also
use
have
it.
like a little table next to the end, like people sometimes sit there. And so there is an outdoor seating that they can have with a wheelchair. But I mean, we can create something that's movable and we can like store in the store. And then if somebody wants it, that's very easily fixable. But I was not really aware, to be honest with you.
I'm wondering, has DOT said anything about if ramps are allowed in bike lanes? I know that they're allowing roadway cafes in floating parking lanes, but have they?
I mean, it can't
Not that
live
we're
there. I
aware
mean, it can't
Right.
stay there
But I
permanently.
wonder if that plan came before DOT, if they would even allow that, because that's a bike hazard.
So just to come, we have 5 locations. In some locations that we have the roadway cafes, they did ask for the ramp because they were like connected directly to the sidewalk. But here is I don't know, maybe I don't have an answer to that.
Okay, the other 2 issues were the manhole cover distance was actually less than what is stated for this particular one. I think Stella could speak to that, and then the size of the travel lane was not the required 15 feet. So can you speak to that, and then what we would need to go?
Right, I measured that currently, so the cafe is 8 feet in the plan, and currently it is 8 feet.
Right.
But there's only 12.5 inches between the edge of the cafe and the manhole cover, so that would have to come in to about 7.5 feet
Okay.
instead of 8.
Actually, this was pointed to us by city, and because these are like, we're gonna demolish this and then put it back
Mhm.
together. So we're gonna like, do you guys see that little buffer? Do you know the buffer? And then
Yes.
there's a little line, and that line is just like sort of there. So we're gonna move this like towards buffer a little bit. So this way there will be 1.6.
Here's the existing, it's just from Google.
With the
Yes.
manhole cover, right.
Yeah,
Oh, that's an old, and we can push it towards that
April
buffer.
2023, but that's the built.
Yeah.
So you're saying this is gonna go into the buffer?
Yes, a little bit. It's not really going into the buffer. There is still a little space between buffer and it's sort of kind of like a white.
This one, right?
Yeah,
So it's
that
gonna
one.
go-
Yeah, we can bring it up a little bit this
So-
way.
To Stella's point, she measured your existing, it's 8. In order to have that clearance for the manhole cover,
Yes,
it doesn't, the measurements don't add up. Is that correct?
Right.
Right.
So the total width of the side, the roadbed cafe would have to be reduced from the 8 feet down, which would then mean that the interior would have less space.
I'm also,
that's really not a problem. It's very insubstantial. Like it can.
so you'd be willing to go, you'd be
Yeah.
able to reduce the width
Yeah.
here to the 7.5
Yeah,
feet, okay,
absolutely.
okay.
Also, I just pulled up DOT's rules and the shed, not shed, the cafe can't cover the buffer.
Right.
So just,
Okay, so we just make it a little bit shorter.
So, okay, so now that we're at 7.5 feet, but then where does 7.5 feet get us to the 15-foot travel lane? Because you measured it as 12.
I measured it as 12.5 currently, and that was to the edge of a FedEx truck, which would probably be the widest car that would be parked on the other side of the street.
And so is that photo in here?
It should be, yeah.
Actually, there is no parking on the other side, no?
There's
There is.
limited parking for commercial vehicles. Go to Stella.
Travel
This
lane,
one?
travel lane width, I think it is there.
The last one.
Oh, am I not showing my screen? I just realized I'm not sharing my screen.
So what does this needs to be? Like what's the measurement?
Hold on, I just realized I'm not sharing my screen.
How do I? This was not really brought up to us by DOT, to be honest with you.
Right, which is their oversight.
Which is their problem.
This is so that our neighborhood's safe, so fire trucks can,
Right.
ladder trucks can put up. their-
Right, so
all
that-
their
so-
equipment.
There's a
Alright, so
required
it's-
15-foot emergency lane. So what is that?
Measure the whole.
13.4? No, we need to go in 3 point,
So what's the,
So it's 13 feet. If she goes in 6 inches, it's,
no, but is that not counted from the sidewalk or from the car park? It can.
Parking lane, the parking lane is 8
8
feet
feet.
and whatever's left, and that's
the travel
less than.
lane.
Less,
So what's the measurement to the all the way? Because I'm not,
We don't know.
uh,
Didn't do that.
I think that we cannot really,
it's less than 15
Yeah.
feet, so you're not in compliance.
Like this has to be 15 feet and I get that it seems like this, it should be fine because this line is here and that's the travel lane, but if this wasn't here, this would be a place that it would be able to.
but this is a parking spot that we took over. So this is why I'm like, I never really paid attention to that. Like if it's okay to park the cars, you know what I mean?
And the other thing is this is a local truck route too, just to point that out.
And FDNY has said that they might offer waivers. Maybe, we don't know under what circumstances they would or not. I'm not sure if they would.
So in order to come in compliance with the 15-foot emergency lane, the cafe would have to go in 2 feet, 4 inches, so I can't do.
Oh, it's not. Well, we don't know for sure the width, Valerie, from there. You know what I'm saying? We should measure to the FedEx truck, sell it there.
Right.
So we don't know exactly what it is, but either way, it's not going to,
Yeah.
it's not 15 feet.
So then if there's a park, I mean, if I have my car parked there and it's not legally
It's just what the
measurable.
But it's just what the
Right?
rules are. The
It's
rules.
what,
It makes
no, I
sense,
get it, I
yeah.
get it. It's what's in the rules is a 15-foot emergency lane. So, so if you were to come in,
Yeah.
Brian, did you want to say something?
Well, we are saying that you, the applicant, could apply to the fire department for a waiver for the 15-foot
Or,
clear.
or you get rid of one row of
Yeah,
tables and then you gain 2 feet
yeah,
there. And I mean, there's different ways that you may be able to do it, because that's another option, and just make it a shorter road bed, you know, so that you're in compliance. And
There
then,
either needs to be an FDNY waiver
right,
or
lose the road tables.
reduction of the width. That's,
And some space.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
And just to make sure that all the service is from within that road bed, because it's a narrow gap between everything. I don't know if it,
those are all the issues.
Yeah.
Okay,
Those are
yep.
all the-
I think those are all the issues. So
Oh, there
it
was,
sounds like we came to agreement for 7.5 feet for the roadway to come in compliance with the manhole cover. But, so either you'll get the waiver and you would still need to be 7.5 feet regardless, right? Because of the manhole cover. So either you get the waiver or you don't. And so that would be in our, I guess, decision if you,
Right.
we'll agree that we've agreed to the 7.5 feet reduction. And that.
So 7.5 feet reduction from.
Oh, sorry, I mean, reducing from the 8 feet to 7.5 feet. That will get you in
Yeah.
compliance with the manhole cover. We don't know. if
Oh,
you-
yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah, so we've agreed to that.
That's, makes
Um,
sense, yes, for sure.
And if you're not granted the waiver, then
have to be 2.5 feet.
you would have to come in 2.5 feet from the 7.5 feet to 2 feet. I just can't do the math.
So, I mean, I'm like curious if the FDNY doesn't grant that, right, then can we just like contest that the parked car should not be parked there as well, you know what I mean? Because it is a parking spot.
it's
So it's really
It's what's
crazy,
in,
yeah.
I know.
I mean, I'm just curious to
Yeah.
There are
understand it,
safety in our
yeah.
community that there's a 15-foot emergency lane.
Yeah,
That's what happens. If you've ever seen a major fire, 2 ladder trucks pull up in front of your building and they need to put those ladders up right away, extend all their stanchions. You have a solid wall. That's why there's a 15-foot emergency lane. It's very simple. I mean, that's up to the fire department. If they want to waive that, they have all
It's a
kinds of
closed,
procedures.
that's a
but
closed process
Yeah,
for
that's,
everyone.
we don't know what it is, but that's. you
And
know.
ideally, it's frustrating, we told DOT this, I'm gonna wrap this up, that
Right.
you don't know when you've applied to put money down, whether or not you're granted that waiver. It's very frustrating to you, yes.
And that they don't ask you to provide it.
Just the last thing, this is small. I noticed that the roadway cafe extends technically beyond the storefront. It goes to the edge of the building. So that would also have to come in to the edge of the storefront.
I mean, looks like we have to make a lot of
Can you show
changes.
me, where's that
Sure.
photo?
That's the one reduced roadway cafe link to match storefront.
what was the width of the building?
I didn't measure the whole width of the building.
Or their storefront is 20
It's 20 and a half.
So that means, so you've got this diagram done at 21 inches, so you'd have to make it, just lose another 6 inches on the width of the
So it
diagram.
sounds like you'll agree to both the width and the length to fit the storefront, so I can send you over something that will kind of match that agreement, and then I don't know what to do about,
Do you have any other comments?
yeah, okay. Is anyone here to speak on this in the room? Is anyone here to speak on Les Botanistes, on Zoom? If so, please raise your hand.
You raise his hand.
I need to go back to that.
You can speak, unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. The spacing I wrote into the chat. What is the difference between the seating, the measurement of chair spacing back to back?
It ends up being, going by the measurements provided, the tables are 2 feet, each chair is 1.5 feet. That's not pushed out, so that would leave you 1.5 feet between.
And that's when
If I
the,
did the math correctly based on the diagram here, not based on an adjusted diagram.
and that's when the chairs are pushed in, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's going by the diagram. The chair is right next to the table and then the table. So each chair that they have on their diagram is 1.5 feet and the tables are 2 feet. And the benches on the left and right are 2 feet.
We don't have the benches.
Well, whatever they are,
Yeah,
illustrated on the diagram is 2 feet. So it's tight. I mean, it's walking through there is tight. It's about 1.3 inches corridors between things.
Okay,
Right. Thank you.
thanks. Next we have Laura Tenenbaum.
There's some picture later.
Yep, yeah. Laura?
She's.
It was just,
she's
figured out the
reading.
other one.
I can't change the 01, so it's 2 minutes, 1 second.
That's
Everyone gets a
okay.
1 second.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's all right.
It's a fall sale.
Did she go?
Laura, you ready? Do I have anyone else that wants to speak on this application?
Sorry, I was ready.
Okay,
I forgot to hit audio on.
great.
I do have concerns about the tightness of the roadway with this here. I know they have something there now and there really haven't been any issues. Their hours they close early. Their clientele, including myself, are kind of quiet. But I've seen fire engines have to back up and try making the turn there because it's a badly designed bike lane. And I worry, and since in the last few years, the M1 bus now turns onto that lane, and I would hate to see it backed up and not be able to pass because there's a large truck on one side and a barrier like this on the other, because mostly cars don't fill the parking buffer, which really shouldn't be there at all. We shouldn't have parking there. My problem isn't the bike lane. My problem is really the parking buffer. But I think there's a practical aspect that it's just not going to work. I think there's no real problem in the neighborhood with them being there. But I just don't see it unless it, as you suggested, it narrow more. Thank you.
Thanks. Next, we have Augustine. Augustine, you have 2 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, a clarification. The photograph that you put up showed the existing shed sitting right in the middle of the bicycle, squarely in the middle of the bicycle buffer lane. Is that, there's no
No.
buffer lane there?
No, there is a buffer. There's nothing in the buffer now.
It's in the parking lot.
Okay, it's just that the photograph showed a 12'6" clearance with the current shed currently in the buffer lane.
No.
Okay. The 12.6, it looks like a buffer lane. It's not a buffer lane. It's a parking lane there. Right behind it, I don't know if that's motorcycle or what it is. You just can't park in that one area. I see what you're saying. You're talking about the area to the right in that photo.
Yes.
Yeah, that is for whatever reason, I'm not sure. They have that part blocked off. But where this roadbed dining structure is and behind that where you can see other cars parked, it's a parking lane. And then there's a buffer on the building side of it, the south side of it, and then there's the bike lane, and then there's the sidewalk.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else to speak on that one? Okay. anything you want to comment on? You don't have to.
No, I do want to say that when we put this out during the comment and it stayed out there, and when the city said to take down, we took it down, and we had 10-15% decrease in sales. Because a lot of people like to sit there, and that's where the city came up with this program. We thought that we complied with everything, and we build it back, because like a lot of people couldn't come in because they didn't want to sit inside, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just to want to kind of give you guys a heads up, so.
Okay.
That is one of the ladies out there, we do close at 9 and we don't play
Yep.
music, and
Yeah,
it just has to, yes.
yeah. I mean, it sounds like we've agreed on
Yeah.
the coming in to 7.5 feet and going in here.
Yeah,
But if you would like to agree now to come in the 2.4 feet, if you're not able to get the waiver, you agree to come in 2.4 feet, we could put that in our
Okay.
modifications and
I mean,
send it over
I
to
think
you.
probably it's a good idea to put it in.
Yeah.
You wouldn't send this.
Yeah, I'll
right?
send it to
Yeah.
you. Okay, wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
Thank you so
We'll be in
much.
touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we're gonna go to San Tropez. It is 6:40, so let's be real efficient with our time on this one. Great. All right, let me share my screen.
Somebody else is raising their hand.
I have the applicant.
Yeah, we can bring the applicant up. It's, starts with a Y.
Yep. he's,
Great. Okay,
he's
so
accept-
San Tropez, I pulled out 16 311 violations on this one. There's also
There is.
some other violations that are in the folder, ECD or something like that. I'll have to look. But here's what we have. So we have a roadway cafe. I know this plan is really small, but there is sidewalk seating that's shown here on this plan. But however, this is a roadway cafe application. I'm curious to know if the applicant has also applied for sidewalk, just so we can know about that. Who wants to start quickly with the?
Have the applicant, if you want to ask him,
Okay.
he's with us. You can't see him, but he is.
Okay.
Hello, do you
Hi.
hear me, guys?
Hello.
Sorry to not be there. I've been aware yesterday night that this meeting was held tonight.
Got it. Do you guys plan on, have you also applied for a sidewalk cafe? in
We
this-
have applied for Sidewalk Cafe, but it's not clear if we're gonna withdraw it or not, because we have met Leslie from the West Village resident about 1.5 months ago. And she brought up that some regulation was not well explained on the DOB website about the requirement for the sidewalk cafe. So we are working with the DOT now to see if the application can go through or not.
Okay,
So yes, you have applied and you're waiting to find out what DOT says. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is correct.
okay,
We have sent several emails, but we don't get much response from them.
okay. All right, so who wants to start on this one?
Okay. So it's the roadbed's there. There is a hatch there that's constantly open. That makes it difficult for people to
This
pass
or
by.
this one?
That one.
Okay,
There.
so we have some questions on this one. So I see the outline here, and there's no indication as to what size these barriers are. Is the barrier that thin? That it's not, because that will need to be included in the size of your footprint for the roadway.
Sorry, I think it's explained on the top diagram above.
Yeah, so that we can't, it's not legible. Like even when I zoomed in on the original PDF, none of us can read.
Well, it doesn't say.
And it doesn't say.
The dimensions on there.
Yeah.
Want me to tell you the
Yes.
dimensions? I went to the website of this, so the barriers, if I found, I pulled that diagram, I believe I pulled the right specs. The barriers are 18 inches deep.
Yes, the thing is like what was requesting by the DOT was the full size of the roadway or the roadway dining, which had include is 29 feet by 7 feet. So after we meet the requirement, like this company basically work with the DOT. So I'm sure the wall will meet the requirement, the DOT requirement.
Okay, so the interior dimension of your roadway dining will be 26 feet long and by 5.5 feet deep, once you have the barrier there.
Correct.
It'll be what?
It'll be 26, the interior will be 26 by 5.5.
Like
If-
removing the I can say, like you are removing the size of the barrier, right?
I'm including the width of the barrier. I'm deducting the width of the barrier from the interior space. So your live seating area will be 26 by 5.5.
All right.
And then, okay, and then I'm not sure where people are entering into this. Where are people entering? Where
They
that-
are entering by the where you see the circle with the cross inside.
So the utility, and how wide is that?
Is that a manhole?
Yeah, it's a manhole under the roadway. Seems like it's from Spectrum or something like that.
So, I mean, so there's a required 18-inch clearance from the manhole. So
It
that-
is not, the DOT, sorry to come like not so prepared, but I didn't have time like to prepare everything since I've been like warned like yesterday, but like the DOT asked me the same question. I provide which utility was exactly under, and it seems like it was fine for them.
Go to the police council.
Okay,
So I'm gonna lock the office. Is there anything you need before I go?
no, thanks. I mean, that for me is like, it doesn't matter what company it is to us, it's 18 inches and it's blocked. So that's just gonna be a problem, I think, here.
But it cannot be a problem because like if the technician needs to access, as you can see, the floor you can the floor is a trap, so you can open it and remove it and close it as a door.
Okay, all right, that's what this is. I just can't read what that is, so that has no context.
That is like a something that we can open to clean under the patio.
Okay.
Or access under.
Got it. There's also no north arrow on this drawing, just pointing that out, that was a requirement. Okay, is there anything else from the committee on this one?
Do they have a bike lane there too?
No.
And the roadway width, do we know what that is?
22 feet?
So will we have a 15-foot emergency?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, there's no parking on the other side. And then, okay, so then the other things were that you have that hatch that's always up with the orange cones in front of it.
Which one? I'm
That
sorry.
one, the hatch that's by your entryway on the sidewalk.
The cellar?
Yeah, the cellar door.
Cellar door.
So
What's the deal with that? It's always open.
It used to, but since we had a meeting with the West Village resident, we don't have this problem anymore because it's closed at all time, and we are using the entrance of the 51 Bank Street to access to our basement.
Okay, that's not correct because I walk by there all the time and I can tell you that it's always open. I never see it closed. I'm just telling you my experience of it.
It's open today.
Yes, and so.
Yeah, the agreement with the West Village resident that it can be open sometime in the afternoon when we have a delivery.
No, it's open at night too, when there's people
At
standing.
night,
get into your
it's not,
restaurant
at night is not open because there is table on it.
I have pictures I took the other night of it
All
open.
right, can we stop the back and forth, because I'm gonna lose quorum in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Question.
Okay,
So we, as you know, we've had a lot of complaints with the operation here and not following the existing dining out New York rules. Do you know the rules?
I know the rules, and I was the one requesting a meeting with the West Village resident, like showing our willing to be a good neighbor and show that we are a good operator too. So we were the one contacting the West Village resident, and we also request meeting with our neighbor to show and provide by email all the things we were willing to do to make the quality of life better.
But my question was actually about the past. Did you know about what the full rules were for New York City's outdoor dining program?
the temporary program?
The temporary program.
I know what was the rules, and I like it.
So the question I ask is because you regularly on the narrow sidewalk had seating that was in violation of those rules, and it was brought up repeatedly by residents on the block.
Yeah,
And
but I have corrected for like at least 1 year all those problems. Everything that my neighbor has been asking, I have responded, and I have applied I made everything to respect the rule, and I had several meetings with the neighbor to agree on some, let's say, closing hour, removing. I had a flower arch about between my restaurant and the patio, for example. We have removed them because it was bothering them. We have been trying and pushing, to show our good willing, to make everyone happy.
And you've been
after, if you want to talk about 2 years ago.
I'm gonna lose you in 5 minutes.
I just need to, and just you've been properly represented by counsel through the full time during COVID, correct? Ms. Summers, has she been your legal counsel?
Correct.
No? I'm just wondering because you've never corrected, you say that you have agreements with the neighbors and stuff, but you have an existing agreement with this community board that you haven't adhered to, and you've made no attempts to amend it, correct it, change it. And that's part of the guidance of the New York State Liquor Authority, is that if you were going to have outdoor dining, that you needed to come back and amend that information. And the guidance is right there on their website. And with your other location, your attorney wrote some pretty strong words concerning this board. And I don't see you guys following any of those regulations or trying to change them. So, the issue here is whether you're going to follow any agreements, because you haven't to date.
The agreement that we had, I have this location since 2017. The city brought up some regulation, and all I can say, sorry, I'm a little bit stressed, so it's difficult to speak English when but it's we had some issues in so that is closed now. We follow all the rules provided by New York City. So I applied for the dining route. We have respected all the rules since that the city provided. So we had an agreement for no sidewalk cafe, because at the time in 7 years ago, it was no sidewalk cafe allowed on Westport Street.
But you never attempted to amend that agreement.
But the amendment, I follow what the city told me. The city told me provide this paperwork to be compliant. I never seen in any dining out or New York City website that I had to go through the community board to to
For
amend,
the, for the liquor license,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you were represented by a liquor
Attorney.
licensed attorney,
I've
correct?
been represented by the attorney for like 1.5 years ago when I had some issue with Soho.
Okay, so she's familiar with the New York State Liquor Authority guidance on this. I'm just trying to make this clear because this is a standing issue that has been ongoing, and that's really the main issue, is that I'm trying to address some of this.
I mean, Carter, like the thing is like the rule from the beginning, from 2022, like change. And what the city says is like you have to wait until like the dining out program come to apply, and then we will come to our hearing with the committee board. So it's why I'm here tonight.
Well, but that wasn't the standing guidance from the New York State Liquor Authority during COVID. They had different guidance. It was featured prominently on their website. You're saying you were represented by counsel. So I'm just
on their website, we like what was provided by SLA. It was to send a form like saying that we have a roadway dining, and it was the only thing requesting at the time.
Public testimony. So is anyone here in the room here to speak on this application? Okay, you have 2 minutes. Can you come up here? Thank you. And please state your name.
Okay. I am a resident of West 4th Street. I live down the block from the San Tropez. And I want to say emphatically that San Tropez is not a good neighbor. We have had a very contentious relationship with them. It's ongoing. We definitely want the roadway dining to be eliminated. The whole process, the sidewalk is very narrow. They have to wait the tables. The wait staff has to go between the tables on the sidewalk, the shed, and the restaurant. It's continually crowded, plus they attract a very loud and boisterous crowd whose voice is always very loud and can be heard all the way down the block. Now, I do not live that close to the restaurant, but the people on the block who do really have it rough. They are subjected to continual noise that is really unconscionable.
Great, thank you.
So the shed should be torn down.
Thank you. Next, we're gonna go to Norma Coate.
We received a written testimony as well.
Tried to promote her to panelist. Maybe she's. Norma? Yeah, we did, yeah. Thank you. Norma, and then we'll go to Natalia and Mikhail.
Norma, do you want to go?
Oh, sorry, did you say Natalia or Norma?
Natalia, we'll go to you next, but we had Norma and then we'll go to Natalia.
Norma, can you hear us? Can you?
Yes, I can hear you. You should be able to hear me now.
Yes, we did receive your correspondence as well.
Good. That's all I wanted to say. I have to leave myself right now.
Okay.
And if you read my testimony, you'll
Yes.
everything I have to say. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, Natalia and then Mikhail.
Sure. I'm Natalia Petrozella. I live at 308 West 4th Street, so 2 doors down from San Tropez. It is true that Johan and his team has been much more proactive in reaching out to us for meetings. I want to honor that. It's absolutely right. That being said, I strongly oppose this dining shed continuing to exist in any form. I submitted written comments. I went out there myself and measured the sidewalk. My measurement is 10 feet 3 inches, which is slightly smaller than I think the city one is. And then that hatch door, open or not, but it is open a lot. It's about 6 feet, plus the cone, plus the sidewalk dining tables. Then the 2 tree beds are 6 feet each, and they like frame the shed, which creates a bottleneck. There's also, of course, another shed almost directly abutting it, which is the Nats on Bank shed. So there's like this whole very crowded corridor there
that exists. And so, and then I think people raised issues already with the diagram, but it's not drawn to scale as far as I understand. It looks like that sidewalk is huge. It absolutely is not. It is super congested all the time when the business is open. The last thing that I wanted to say is when we had one of these meetings, you know, the plan for crowd control, the San Tropez team acknowledged there were some crowd issues, was we'll move them across the street and have them wait on the corner of West 4th and Bank. This to me just shifts the problem to a different place, by the way, where there are also residents and actually now a new business that opened, this new jewelry store. I don't really think those people are going to want a bunch of like, you know, reveling brunch people or dinner crowd waiting there. So this is a very narrow block. There are issues of pedestrian safety, visibility, aesthetics. If you think about what people have to go through to make tiny aesthetic changes to their facade, and we have these hideous, dangerous, gross sheds. San Tropez, which is absolutely one of them. It should not exist there. The roadway, the sidewalk dining, fine. But yeah, I'll stop there and let someone else take it. Thank you for doing this. I may just log off because I'm at a different event, but thank you.
Thanks, Natalia. And we received your comments. Mikal, and if I'm saying that wrong, please correct me.
No, Michael is good.
Michael, okay, sorry.
That's okay. Michael Petruzella, I'm a resident of 308 West 4th Street. And I have three issues here. One is that the drawing is not drawn according to scale. And Natalia already mentioned that. I find that surprising. I don't know why. It's misleading. It makes the sidewalk look much bigger than it is. But that's number one. Number two, I measured myself the distance from the cellar to the shed, and that's about 5 feet. And that cellar door is open all the time. I've submitted pictures on that. If there's a cone, that further reduces it to about 4 feet. And it creates absolutely a narrow path. And Tally mentioned that, but I wanted to kind of highlight the measurements for pedestrian traffic. So to me, it impedes pedestrian clear path. The cellar is used because there are, I think, Johan, you may know, I mean, you're doing food prep there. There's food delivery. Dishes are being down there. There's people running up and down that cellar all the time. And finally, while Johan, I think, has been receptive to having conversations and, you know, has tried to make changes. I mean, there's constant violations of the existing DOT rules, which bothers me. And I think it's just the problem of having agreements in place, and Carter, you kind of highlighted it, and then, you know, being kind of violating those agreements. And so I would like to come to a place with Johan, you know, to implement something that works for the residents and works for the restaurant. We met with Johan several months ago. We've expressed strong interests for him not to apply for the roadway bet. We were open to considering a sidewalk cafe without the roadway bet, because that would sort of create more flow of traffic. But you know, we haven't come to an agreement on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Leslie Clark and Augustine Hope.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yep.
I'll be really quick here. I just want to clarify what Johan said. Yes, we did meet, West Village residents met with Johan, but we were with the Petrozellas, Michael and Natalia and others at the time. We didn't actually come to any agreement. What we did was add our concerns to the concerns of the people on the block about the congestion, about the curbside seating, which I agree with Natalia has gotten better. But that hatch is open all the time. Even though we mentioned it, you've all said it, that hatch is open. I walked down the block today. It's just permanently open. I mean, it's unusual when it's closed. There's too much congestion on that street. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Leslie. Augustine? Augustine? I not come out, sorry.
Should be able to speak.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Hi. Thank you for hearing us. I just want to point out that this is one of the most extraordinarily beautiful low-rise residential streets in a historic district. And these guys are completely butchering it. There are people who live less than 11 feet from this proposed structure. By putting it out in the middle of the street like that, it's basically putting a entertainment complex feet from people's houses. They can't help but hear every single word of every single conversation, whether it's alcohol-fueled voices or just normal conversation. So I'm wondering, sort of would be a question for Johan if I was talking to him directly. Given that the Sidewalk Cafe can only be 5 foot 5 inches wide, which only allows room for a row of 2 top tables, is it really worth having, for 10 extra seats, being in perpetual warfare with your immediate neighbors and other residents on that street? Thank you.
Thanks. All right, that seems to conclude the public testimony on this. Again, this is for the Roadway Cafe. And really quickly, yes, oh gosh, yes.
Sylvia, I just wanted to ask him a question.
Yeah.
Johan is still there.
Yeah.
What is in the cellar? What happens in the basement part there?
It's mostly storage because I have heard that there is a prep downstairs, but all the prep for all my restaurants are made on 225 West 12th Street. So basically we are just bringing, either we are bringing some food or we have like to-go bag or some, I don't know, like to-go bag, soda is what happening downstairs. We don't prep. Maybe sometimes they cut like few onion, but all the food is made in my other restaurant.
In your other restaurant, okay.
Yeah.
So the food is not prepped downstairs and it's not cooked downstairs.
No, I mean, it can happen that sometimes they are missing, like I say, like they need like to cut some onion or little thing, but there is no heavy prep downstairs.
Really quickly, there was some concern about the storage here, so I'm just showing some photos. I don't know what order this is going to go in. The storage happening on the side. And then the trash. What's the plan for trash?
So this picture must be like from at least 1.5 years ago. All the trash are brought for at least a good year to my other restaurant, which has a bigger sidewalk and all the collect, because my neighbor asked like the truck was making too much noise on the streets. So I'm paying somebody to bring the trash every night. This picture is like from maybe 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, I know this is an older photo. They're just showing the hatch. All right. All right. So I think that that's all of our questions. We can go to business session. Thanks so much. Johan.
The barriers.
Can I add something?
Can you?
Yeah.
What? So
you agreed to, right?
So Johan, you agreed to come in on the barriers?
Update the site plan to reflect the proper distances of the barriers, which.
Okay, so Johan, are you willing to amend the site plan?
I will make some measurement and.
Okay.
And so.
So it actually reflects what the width of the barriers and everything else. So we see the barrier width is in there.
We'd like to include that plan with our comments to DOT. So I will email you to get that.
All right, I would.
Okay.
I would contact the supplier, and just I would like to add, like, for Carter, yes, like few years ago we have made some mistake, and also the regulation was not as clear as it is now. Of course, I did agree with my neighbor about the roadway dining, but as you have heard today, like we have been proactive and trying to make an agreement, or at least like make things better.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for taking those steps.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to everyone for their comments. So let's go to business session. Spring Lounge.
It seems that they can only have that table and chairs on either side of the main entrance. Doesn't seem particularly practicable. I just don't understand how that movement, and until we have any other guidance, I just don't. I think that if there's stanchions, that people are gonna trip on them, it's like, it just doesn't make
Doesn't work.
sense.
And so are we saying that, let me just pull up the.
We're saying nothing.
So what we're saying is nothing on Mulberry and one table on either side of the entrance. Let me just share this.
That's even difficult because
But that was actually an allowable
Right.
situation in the past.
Here-
Because the service and, I mean, that is.
Are we saying one table and one table on each side, or just two tables on this?
No, just the one on
One
each
on,
side.
one on each side.
Because they can't walk past it.
It sounds like they were not agreeing to change their site plan to reflect one table on each side. Right?
Just ask them that.
Huh?
I asked them. I mean, I don't, did we say that very clearly to them? I mean, I think what they were hearing was that it's pretty infeasible to do something,
Yeah.
so perhaps if they would.
So how do we
just
vote?
ask.
So then how do we vote on this?
I mean, this is 13 inches from here to here. Yeah, I mean,
This
is not
The whole
a,
thing seems impossible.
You have to turn sideways and kind of walk.
I can't even imagine anybody wanting to dine in
No, I mean, this is why I had my husband.
Well, and that's why
Yeah, you have
my line of questioning to them, as I said, just to be clear, you're proposing to go from what is currently 6 feet, 7 inches to 1 foot, 5 inches. Because it looks the same.
I think
okay.
that's just,
So are we, so this is a sidewalk cafe, so are we, is there a motion on the table to vote to approve with modifications, or to deny totally?
if they don't make the modification, then it's a deny.
That's right.
So let's do the similar thing we did, see if they'll turn in a site plan with one table each, that we will approve that with modifications, so same thing. And if they don't, okay, so I can get that out to them tomorrow and have them, because this one is due, like next week.
And I
So
think that one is just so clear.
So I could send them the modifications that say they'll agree to this, sign this, and then give us the site plan, and if you don't by this date, then it turns into this. Okay, great.
And I think the stanchion base is something to bring up. Because that impedes into the service aisle, the whole service aisle.
Okay.
And also on that, yes, people can trip, but wheelchairs also have to.
Well, no wheelchair is getting anywhere.
No, but I mean on the.
On the pedestrian
Like,
side too, yeah.
you
You
can't
have to
go
go
over that.
right.
So, right, so, and just so everyone's clear, approval with modifications, if the applicant agrees to it, does not extend the process for them, they would not then go to a DOT public hearing. So I did get clarification on that. If
And we
we
have-
don't agree to the modifications, it doesn't really matter, because ours is turning into a denial if they don't.
And just to note, everybody here did review the public comments that
Yes.
were not in
Yes.
favor of the application.
Right.
Correct.
Just to make sure that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, next, next we have
Like this or whatever.
the Botaniste. So how do we want to handle this one? It sounds like the thing with it is all like kind of contingent on whether or not they get the clearance. So, it sounds like I'm going to give them a set of modifications to sign the way I did for Partners Coffee and the way we're going to do for Spring Lounge, but I'm in that one I had put, they will agree not to seek out the 15-foot waiver, but here it seems like we're okay with them seeking out the 15-foot. We're
Yeah,
not.
I think it should be done the other way, that the modification should be to the narrow. And then if there is a waiver granted, it could then be extended.
Okay.
Not,
Yep.
so I think that the plan
Okay.
needs to be modified, and if there is a waiver, we have no objection to.
So we're gonna ask them to come in 2.4 feet from the 7.5, so that it is to the, what is it, 2 tables, rows of 2 rows of you know what I mean, just.
Right, to reduce.
Long, yeah. So we're gonna ask them to agree to come into that and that we will agree that they can extend beyond if they are granted that waiver.
And
Right.
my impression was is that they were agreeable.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been given no guidance and
Right.
nor does DOT require the applicant.
But we're trying to find a way,
And we've been given no guidance.
Okay, so on this one, there is no, I'll do a formal vote at the end for all three really quickly.
What about that ramp we were talking about?
We need to put that in there, that they need to have the ramp, right?
But also, that also requires, and if you, not to put work on you, but we do need to directly ask DOT about what their guidance is for putting out ramps, because ADA accessibility is required. Because if not, how can somebody safely get to this?
Yep.
Which then, I don't know if this becomes like a basement. Nobody's thought about this, right? If it becomes like a basement, you still have to provide ADA accessibility in the basement, even if you can't get to the basement. So we need just further clarification.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
What is that?
so we just need further clarification if this is an absolute requirement from DOT.
And there was some precedent, right? Somebody was saying.
Well, there's a couple of different things, but we don't have clarity. DOT is the arbiter of these things. We should get explicit guidance from them. And also the procedures that an establishment would take to stop the traffic within a bike lane. What are the safe protocols to do that? There's a lot of open
You put it down and then what, someone stopping
You need
a
a
bike
flagger.
lane?
If they don't
Yeah.
have protocols, they sure should.
Yeah. Right, okay. Okay, so we will write it to that, include the ramp.
And we forgot to tell them if they have not seen that, because they have a liquor license, they're required to put a warning sign within the structure, warning of the bike lane.
Okay, we can add that in there.
requirement, but
Okay, great.
Oh, yeah, so is that a requirement?
From the liquor.
From the liquor authority. They spoke about it. You read it.
No, before it was illegal to serve alcohol across the bike lane, and that rule, that law. That law has been since amended. Okay, so on this one, there's no formal approve with modifications, but it sounds like I will put in parentheses as an approve with modifications. If they amend the plan, it'll be the same thing, right? If they agree and submit the site plan. Great, okay. So confirm that's the same thing. We vote on those two really quickly on all those for both Spring Lounge and for Les Botanistes Roadway. All those in favor? All right, let's do the last one, Sam Tropez. Here we go. We're approve the modifications or deny.
Well, it's roadway, so.
Oh, yeah, it's the same thing, right, sorry.
So the issues here are amended site plan to properly reflect the widths, which is important so that you can determine the interior seating area. I'm assuming that there's adequate passage in there, that all services from the inside. In the diagram, it looks like there is a continuous barrier except for the opening along the sidewalk. Am I correct?
Looked like it.
Yeah.
So that means that all service would, in fact, by default, be within the shed. I think that in this particular case, we've been told that we can make further comments. There've been a lot of complaints. This block has inundated the community board office with complaints. They don't seem to have followed some of the guidance, and I'm sure that Donna can articulate that in further detail with the writing. They haven't followed any agreements that they have with the community board. The liquor authority was very clear. You can amend this, but you have to be proactive in doing it. And they took no steps. Their original liquor license agreement said they would not have.
The stipulations, right?
Yes, they said they would not have benches on the sidewalk, that they would keep that the sidewalk hatch closed, except when absolutely required, that they would have absolutely no outdoor dining, no sidewalk,
Okay, so we'll
nothing.
include a copy of the
And-
SNPs in there along with the.
And that was in 2020 when they came for their on-premise upgrade, so that was the part of the public.
Right, and that was in January, right?
And the issue
January
is, it's,
2020.
yeah, and the issue is that it's now 2024.
And they've never come to us.
And, well, no, they haven't resolved the issue.
Oh, that's not the issue.
Is the key aspect of this, and that's the concern. Because if they make another agreement, who's to say that they're gonna adhere to the agreement?
Can I also ask them to remove the sidewalk seating on this plan, because we can't, this is not part of the application.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they adequately said that there are some concerns, and, you know, they're addressing that. When we get that, we will get it.
The application, okay.
You know, this is just, I mean, I think that you can ask them, but don't, you know, we are not hearing.
We're not paying attention. We're not.
Okay.
affected.
Sidewalk.
Well, it just seems that there was a lot of talk about the
only-
cellar door.
No, but
and-
the only
But-
issue is that the movement of the staff and the customers and the people walking by is that there is an open hatch that you can fall down.
Right.
And it is open all the time. And that is a safety issue all around, that if you are going to promote movement of your patrons
Across.
around the
Yeah.
area, really needs
Okay.
to be adequately addressed.
And you have the comment for what impacts the curb space, right?
Right.
That's one of
That's
those
right.
comments you make. This is continuously. I have not walked by there except for on one occasion where there are not people, because it's right next to their entryway. So the people are coming and going in and out of the restaurant. Forget about the sidewalk seating, coming and going in and out of the restaurant, standing there saying goodbye or saying hello. Now and going into the roadbed, all with that hatch there, makes it almost always with people in that area, irregardless of the sidewalk seating.
And on top of that, if you look at this, the entrance to the roadbed seems to be
Directly
parallel.
parallel.
Well, there is no, the thing is, there is
No,
no,
they've
you're
said
right.
that this is the entrance,
Yeah.
there's an arrow there.
Is gonna
And
be the
they've
entrance.
said that's the entrance where the arrow is.
And it's almost-
It's right in that reduced width
space.
from the cellar
Yeah.
door. Anyway, I just think that that's important to comment on.
Yeah.
The
Because
hatch.
that really blocks that.
Okay.
Yeah.
This shows,
Yeah, no.
so
it's-
this is the utility cover, AKA their door. And then
Right.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
it's not a manhole.
Well,
It's okay.
no. I think they have a removable access to it, which I have not looked at, cannot
Yeah.
articulate on it, but I do believe there's an opportunity for people to have a removable floor to access that.
Yeah, I think, I do
Yeah.
think they. said
Okay.
that.
Well, what I want to know is, on what basis can we deny this?
We can't, but we can raise these issues. And I think that there is a significant open issue. But the other aspect of this is that they have an agreement that they won't do this.
They're doing
which,
it.
You know, from their liquor license, it was also part of their,
Hello.
a really important part of their public interest statement. So this is a larger discussion, but not necessarily for the city's review of the applications.
Come in.
So, how much do?
Okay, so,
I have
I mean,
one question. How much do community comments count? I mean, the qualitative ones. I was under the impression not.
Well, I think these are safety comments.
yeah, they're on the
Many of them,
impervious
so-
and pedestrian flow. They're all underneath.
How about noise? I know there's a lot of commentary about noise.
I mean,
Loud.
the comments submitted are in the 3 categories we've asked for, which is why we've asked for feedback in that way. So it's,
They haven't been a great operator, and
But
they
what
seem
I'm
to be
saying
willing
is,
to take steps.
Is that valid to be?
Yes, I think it's worth putting in.
Significant.
all right.
The one last thing is that we may want to include in there that if this is going to go forward, that entrance to the sidewalk, to the roadway dining be moved so that it is not
Within the,
Right, so it's not right across from that.
across from that.
okay.
I think it's a reasonable.
Okay, so it sounds
And
like
you
we're
may
gonna,
want to make that request of Johan as well.
so it sounds like we're gonna make so it sounds like we're all in agreement to ask for the amended site plan, the adequate. We're gonna include a complaints, we're gonna address the hatch door, we're gonna ask them to move the roadway dining entrance, not
Alleviate the congestion.
alleviate the congestion from it being across from the hatch. And we're gonna ask for an amended site plan. There is no approve with modification
want us-
or denial on
But you
this, just
but you-
comment. It's just
But you can
comment.
put there's significant
Yeah,
concerns
yeah, yeah.
with respect to
Yep.
not just this application, but on this particular stretch.
And it's also just by going on the site, it's about a foot and a half is the clear path within that area. That's for people, that's just going by the width of the tables on
Right.
the plan that isn't on their plan, but when I went to the manufacturer's site, that's what's there.
Okay, so it sounds like we're all in agreement on this one. Can I
Yes.
make a motion? And great.
Yes.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for raising your hand, but we're not taking public comment. We're in business session. And then next we have our future meeting dates as Tuesday, October 15th, Tuesday, November 12th, and Tuesday, December 11th. I will just send out and confirm, maybe I'll send a doodle out for these dates to confirm everyone can make those, and we've had discussion on specific issues. Let's see what comes in. As you know, we heard San Tropez we received on Monday, and I just thought, you know what, we're only talking about 2 applications today. We might as well add that one in. And so that's why that one went really fast. So thanks.
And you only have 30.
We only have 30 days, right? So it's before full board in October anyways. So, so there's that. On really quick for new business, is there any other new business? I thought we would quickly just on this, for district needs, I can add some lines in there about the outdoor dining program, some ideas that were raised for capital expense budget, or related to this committee would be more dollars for enforcement. I'm just throwing that out there. We have until the exec meeting in October. I just thought we should start that conversation quickly now. You had another idea of.
And I just think that, it just seems that the enforcement, but it's difficult. We'll get a response that, it may be a request for the following year after we see.
For FY '27.
Yeah.
But that's it. If anyone has any ideas, I can bring them up at exec as well.
I didn't think in this context.
Yeah, so, and then that's it. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to end the webinar. Thank you, everyone.